that's kind of really all I'm getting. But hey, if the interest rates keep going up, then they're going to stay out even maybe.
Yeah,
they're going to come back anytime soon.
I saw some of our partners on the mountain out in Vail. They're all skiing right now.
Yep.
Good for them. Enjoy it.
Yes.
Welcome to the iBuyer experiment. We have a smorgasbord to talk to you about today. We're going to talk about some interesting Google trends. We're also going to talk about interest rates and what the majority of mortgage holders across the U.S. are experiencing. We're going to kind of weave in some Gary Keller-isms from the Keller-Williams family reunion. And we've also got some data on investor purchases and are home purchases so low because investors have pulled out. So a lot to talk about today, a lot going on in real estate. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, when you're talking about inventory, I know that earlier I like kind of knowing national data, and that was one of the things I wasn't very clear on is like how many houses are listed across America on most cases. And I actually found that from January of 22 to January of 23, it went from basically 370,000 in 22 all the way to 600 in 25, January of 23. So the market had a massive increase from an inventory level.
Were you talking about 300,000?
Yeah, 300,000 per the article, and that was National Association of Realtors.
Huh. So typically there's like about 1.28 million homes on the market. That's what it was trending like, essentially plus or minus. I need to look at that. I haven't.
Yeah, that's right. Because I found some conflicting data on that because, like I said, that was per National Association of Realtors. Because I thought I was with you. I was like, all right, well, if 4 to 6 million houses are going to sell, and then when I looked it up, it did say like 1.1. I saw that and all that number too. But maybe it was a certain type of property, and I missed that detail point. But anyways, regardless, I was shocked at. You knew that there was massive increase, but the certainly doubling in a certain inventory level is substantial.
Huh. So I can't really speak intelligently as to that because I didn't look at that data source. But there's no doubt that there's been a large cohort of purchasers that have kind of left the market.
Yeah.
What's going on with investor purchases, guys?
Well, that I did confirm from a data point, making sure that investor purchases are down 50% as of Q4 and at the end of last year. So that's a massive exit, and especially since a lot of these large investors and institutional investors in the major metropolitans that they were focusing on were accounting for almost 10% of the monthly production during the last couple year boom.
And so I'm curious, when you say the word investor, or is it more specific, these large, REITs and hedge funds, or does it also include someone who just, a one-off?
Yeah, absolutely. It includes mom and pops too. Non-owner occupant acquisitions down 50% on that. So what do you think that's going to do to the marketplace? I mean, there's, like I said, there's a lot of agents. I mean, they account for a ton of sales, right? They own 160 of the roughly 160 million homes across America. They own a lot of them.
It just depends on how long they stay out of the market.
Yeah,
because they can all come back in an instant, and bam, there goes the market. Changes the market. I mean, they can actually change the market's direction.
Which they have, and they do.
Absolutely have.
Here's another one of these. This just came out a couple hours ago. Wall Street has purchased hundreds of thousands of single-family homes since the Great Recession. Here's what that means for rental prices. And it also says that institutional investors may control 40% of the U.S. single-family rental homes by 2030.
I talked about that in an Instagram reel a few weeks ago. Yeah, because it's such a shocking number to think that like 1 in 11 homes could be owned by Wall Street by 2030. I personally think it's a stretch. I don't think it's going to get there. But what
they only own like what? Just a few percent right now.
They own
right?
600,000, about 600,000 homes.
Okay,
they would have to get to that mark. They would have to buy 7 million more homes
in the next 7
in the
years.
next 7 years.
That's a
7
million.
That's a
homes a
million-
year.
that's-
a million
that-
homes a year.
I don't
So
think that's gonna
they're going to
happen.
account for 20% of the productivity on the annual acquisitions.
this
I
is-
don't see that.
This is according to MetLife Investment Management.
Wow.
I wonder what funds
Yeah.
MetLife Investment Management is a part of.
Yeah,
that'd be
what
interesting. I was
do
like,
they know that we don't?
Who are
maybe
they hedged
maybe we
in?
should be making some phone calls.
Not just that too, but that's a massive operation,
A massive.
undertaking.
And not only that, it's true. Touche. Because not only do you have to acquire them, now you have to lease them out, manage them, prepare them, like everything that goes on with that. Like, whoa.
Oh, give me the challenge. I would love to take it. So I think that the funds have definitely pulled back, and we know that. And
Sure.
I think something that we made a prediction earlier this year that they will come back. And we kind of believe it's going to be towards maybe end of second quarter, maybe third quarter. I mean, Keith, I know that you run point with a lot of our investor contacts. What's your sentiment about this?
What are they saying, Keith?
Which,
Or what are they not saying?
I was just saying, none of them know what's going on. I just, hey, we're taking a step back from our operations to be more strategic, and that's kind of really all I'm getting. But hey, if the interest rates keep going up, then they're gonna stay out. Even maybe
Yeah,
they're gonna come back anytime soon.
I saw some of our partners on the mountain out in Vail. They're all skiing right now.
Yep.
Good for them. Enjoy it.
Yes.
Enjoy
Well, a lot
the
of times,
little...
but historical, sometimes when the rates go up, sometimes the rent will become more in demand because now people won't buy. They'll go back to renting.
Rents have decreased by and large
I know,
all
but they
across
have
the
it.
U.S.
They have it. Right. I knew that. That's what I'm saying is it's not a typical trend is my point, which is I think it was a couple podcasts ago where we were talking about what is the trend, and it's hard to define what normal trends are right now because everything just seems to be going against the grain.
Yeah,
Wait.
so rents declined in 11 major U.S. cities. I'll kind of read them off right now
Okay.
because this is good content for my reel. So rents declined in 11 major U.S. metros. The 11th was Austin, Texas, with a decrease of 0.4%. Seattle, Washington was number 10 with a decrease of 1%. Virginia Beach, Virginia was number 9 with a decrease of 1.8%. Chicago, Illinois was number 8 with a decrease of 3%. Birmingham, Alabama went down 3.4%.
Wow.
They were number 7. Baltimore, Maryland went down 4.6%. They were number 6. Houston, Texas, rents went down by 4.9%. They were number 5. Minneapolis, Minnesota, rents went down by 5.1%. They were number 4. New Orleans, Louisiana was 5.2% decrease. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma was a decrease of 6.3%. They were number 2. And the number 1 market where rents decreased was Phoenix, Arizona, with a decrease of 6.7% in
Shocking.
rents.
Well, we've definitely, a lot of the funds that we work with, their offers definitely were even more extra conservative here compared to other marketplaces. Some of them are still dipped out. I mean, one of them, they're not currently going to be purchasing properties for any more than $350,000. I'm like, fine.
Where are you going to find anything above
They're
or
waiting
under?
until they come down there,
Well,
right?
but Kayla, when we were at IMN, is it earlier this year or last year? Excuse me. They were saying that they were projecting the rents to compound basically 10% up, right? And it was a split panel. But when you think about that, and I know that there was projections from that previous conferences where they were going to, go up that 8 to 10% compounding on the turnovers. So a 6% decrease, I'm not saying that that's a small amount. What I'm going to just be a layman here and point out is the amount that the rents increased in the last 2 to 3 years, it wasn't high. It was obnoxious, absolutely obnoxious. And so I don't know. I don't want to say it's unhealthy or I just think it's a little bit of a bite back.
Sure. So markets maybe just adjusted a little bit. Definitely. So, investor purchases are down. We can all feel it. They're going to come back when? That's the big question mark. We're just going to wait and see. I think, though, one thing that we hear a lot, and I want to kind of talk about this for a minute, is we'll hear agents talk about when they're bringing cash offers to their home seller, they're worried that if the cash offer is too low, it will have a negative impact on them,
They're not
on
gonna
their
list with
brand
me.
equity or something.
Yeah, on their.
I don't want to tell them that
their
offer,
value
'cause
as an
what if they
agent,
don't?
what they're bringing.
What if they don't list with
that
me?
seller.
Yeah, so let's
They're
unpack
gonna get
that.
pissed.
Yeah.
Let's unpack that.
Did you guys hear that?
So yeah,
Well, we hear that.
being transparent. There's a lot of the members that we'll work with in some of the initial phases, whether it be a fund or a certain source that they've been working with, as they'll say, "Hey, well, how in line are some of these cash offers that you're bringing? Because I don't want to work with cash offers that are going to be insulting to my seller. It negatively affects my brand equity as an agent in my community." That's what they're sharing. Well, of course, for us, that's an easy problem to solve because we have a pioneering product that allows them to not only give a market value cash offer initially. If that initial assessment is wrong, the house is resold on the open market and they get the difference if it was to sell for more. So we're able to completely remove that objection. With that said, it's just amazing to me, to be candid, that a lot of the people are making decisions for their clients versus bringing them the menu of options and truly saying, "Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, what is most important to you in this sale?" Right? Like, part of it's not always price. I mean, that's always a factor, but sometimes it's timing, sometimes it's convenience, sometimes it's reconditioning the property. Right? There's a lot of things to diagnose there. What's going to be best for you and your client?
Yeah. For sure.
Hands down, for me, that's the only approach that you should be taking with these home sellers. And for the agents that we talk with that have the most success, within the Zoodealio platform, regardless of what, cash offers are being accepted, hands down, that's their mindset when I talk with them, right? They presented an opportunity for the home seller, to have that unique and different conversation experience. And hey, if it doesn't work, then hopefully they get the listing out of it.
Yep.
So it's coming from a place of curiosity and uncovering what that home seller's motives truly are, and then giving them their options based on what's important to them.
Yeah, they might not even have gotten into the conversation if they hadn't have started with the cash offer. So
Who would have thunk it?
Exactly. Yeah.
What a concept.
I can understand how agents feel that way, especially in this highly competitive real estate landscape where everywhere you turn, someone's, it's another realtor that you're up against to get that listing or get that buyer. But I also think it's a very low-level mindset because it means that you are not skilled or adept at overcoming, obstacles or objections and showing different options. So I don't know. It's interesting. Let's kind of segue over to some of the remarks that Gary Keller made at the family reunion. Was it the family reunion?
Yeah, family reunion just went on. Yep.
Well, he said ChatGPT was shit. That's what he said. No, I'm just kidding. He didn't say that.
Beep.
I was all, dang, really?
I was like, damn, that's bold.
Gary Keller made some
Wonder
comments.
if Microsoft feels that way.
He made some comments about AI, and we were all kind of like, whoa, this is interesting. Keep in mind, Gary Keller is 66 years old, so he's a little bit older. Not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that maybe some of his viewpoints are reflective of the fact that he's a little bit older. And
that he is at the helm of 200,000 agents. That is a hands-on environment, not a tech environment, right? Which, don't get me wrong, I know they want to say that they are.
They say they're a technology company first,
but actions sometimes speak different.
So what did Gary Keller say about ChatGPT?
I told you. They said it was shit. No, I'm kidding. No, he said that, the AI tools might be really valuable and really cool, and they do interesting things. He also said ChatGPT doesn't get it all right. And then he concluded that even if it sets everybody's hair on fire, its impacts will likely be limited.
I wonder what that means, though.
Okay, so first, there's a couple things. So
means it's shit.
First thing he said is that it doesn't get it all right, and that is absolutely correct. We know that. In fact, before this podcast, Colby, our producer here at Zoodealio, he shared with us. He's like, "Hey, if you talk about ChatGPT or if you talk about the integration with Bing, make sure you remind everybody that the data may not be correct. They could be sourcing from old articles or old information." So Gary Keller's first statement, it doesn't always get it right. True. But then the second kind of comment about how its impact will be limited.
As Noah pointed out, is that
Well, that's-
subjective?
That's to be determined. I mean,
Yeah,
you
TBD.
really don't know what the impact is gonna.
Well, and I think
gonna
it's also
have
up to
on
the
it.
beholder too, right? Like, I mean, like this is where those queries that, like, one of the things I know I was talking about, where everybody's looking at how are you using it, right? When you start using it to create images, build business plans, build scripts, build sales processes, build business operations, right? You can't tell me that that's not massively impactful. It's going to teach some people and help them elevate their ability to implement at a way faster scale for your action takers. Now, the overarching majority of people that are going to use it and using it to potentially write listing descriptions, and it's going to be copywritten, and you're looking through that just little spectrum of what is possible. I mean, that's like saying a drop in the ocean or a bucket of water in the ocean is not that impactful when the ocean is what's available, right? So it's just like, to me, I think it's up to the beholder.
So you think that its impact will not be limited? So you disagree with Gary Keller?
There's few people that Gary
Maybe
Keller is a
limited
brilliant
in his lifetime.
Yeah, he's a brilliant mind. I've had the pleasure of being very close to him, and hear him speak and be mentored in many ways. Brilliant mind. I think my read between the lines on that is there's 200,000 agents, and he's crowd controlling with those types of statements.
So
He's telling his agents, don't get all crazy with this. Just do the basics, right?
Yes.
That's what he's
Yes.
saying. I think.
pick up the phone,
Yes.
Yep.
make more phone
Pick up the
calls.
phone, pound the
Yeah.
calls.
Don't stop
right?
working. Don't.
Scrub the do not call registry first, though, so we don't have to shell out another
The
40
40
million.
million.
But make your phone calls. No, I don't know. I felt that I thought it was an interesting soundbite from him. And if I were him, I wouldn't want that out there in print. I don't think it's going to age well. We'll see. Time will tell.
TBD.
Well, let's also, I have some Google trends that I felt were really interesting because there's hardly any inventory on the market. Even though it's increased year over year, we still know that we have less than a 3-month supply of inventory.
Yep.
And that's nationally. So some markets could even be less than that. So I did a little research on Google and I looked up some of the Google trends. And for Sell My House, that has decreased 25% year over year.
Wow.
So people aren't selling their home on Google. And homes for sale has also decreased by 22% year over year. But here is the interesting thing. This search phrase has skyrocketed on Google. It's up 1,350%. And the search phrase that people are Googling right now is, when will mortgage rates go down?
Yep.
That's what people want
That
to know.
makes sense.
So
1,300%
and then they'll be looking
increase?
at selling my house.
Yeah,
Wow.
there's this because it's uncertainty.
So the interest rates were just at, I think they hit the 5s like a couple weeks ago, and I think they're about ready to hit the 7s
Yeah,
today.
knocking on the door 7
Yep.
again.
The breaking news just a couple minutes ago, Dow dropped 700 points as high rates rattle investors.
Wow.
So
wow.
So
the spring selling season could have a little bit of a damper on it
Little
Yeah.
hiccup. Little
because
hiccup.
of these high interest rates.
So you're telling me the floor's going crazy right now?
Yeah.
God,
Yeah, I think so.
sounds like.
It'll be interesting to see how the day ends and what it ends at.
It'll be up 700 points, and the rates will be at 4.
I know, right? That's what we are in.
It is wild, man.
We're in a market of the minute. We were talking
Market
before
of the
we
minute. Wow.
podcasted. We were talking about how you can't get too hung up on what's happening in the moment. Yes, you need to be aware because you need to educate your buyers, you need to educate your sellers, but you can't really get too hung up on it.
Yeah, there was a bunch of videos 2 weeks ago when people were, see the rates are going down. They're going to go down even further. I think there was even an article that someone said, that the rates are going to be at 5.2 within like a month. So
I mean, it's uncertain in all markets, even crypto, gold and silver. It's a roller coaster ride all the way around.
Do you still have Bitcoin?
Yeah, I kept it because
You kept it.
I'm in it for the long haul
Now,
now.
at this point, there's no choice. It rides all the way to
What'd
zero.
What'd you buy it at? Do you remember?
It's a couple
60?
different in as low as the high 40s and then as high as the 60,000. So I'm on it for the real long haul.
All right. I
Oh, you
still
never know.
believe in
It could be
recruit to even
200,000 in a
to
year
even
and a
break
half.
even. I probably, it's got to get back up to that 60K mark. So
I still believe in it. I think it's long term. It's good. So yeah, there's not a whole lot of inventory on the market. Sellers really aren't screaming to move. Buyers are kind of waiting to see. It's an interesting time. But there's no doubt, though, that if you're out there and you're prospecting for new business, if you can take home sellers, cash offers, and other options, it's going to open that door for you. It's going to allow you to have more real estate conversations. And what else? What's our parting advice to our listeners?
I think that there's one last little thing that we got to touch on, especially because it's so impactful here in like the Phoenix Metro and a lot of areas where they have vacation home rentals.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, I know that's kind of your territory, so I don't want to steal that thunder, but
No thunder stolen.
So, one of the biggest things that I found interesting here in the Phoenix Metro, right, is there was a lot of this, is this the Airbnb bust? Well, part of that data showed that it was like 90% of the homes that didn't rent were new to the Airbnb platform within the last 90 days. So you had a bunch of people that tried to jump in for Super Bowl week. We had the Waste Management open here as well to try to jump in and grab that quick buck. So my question for us on this is how often do we see that starting to happen? And like there's a major event where people are going to go move out of their house, stay with their brother, their mom, dad, whatever, and just rent out their house for the week to try to make a quick buck. And then now they're saying that that's more of the bust. But also the other part I wanted to talk about on this is how much of that inventory right now is also causing issues to our overarching inventory as a whole, where people are buying it and trying to do short-term rentals.
So there was a lot there.
I know, sorry.
I think we can we can just start from what we know. And what we know is that from 2017 to 2023, short-term rentals quadrupled. We went from 5,000 to 21,000 here in the Phoenix Metro.
That's nuts.
That's according to AirDNA. So I think that you also referenced something that Airbnb brought up, and what Airbnb brought up is for the 2 weeks preceding the football and the Waste Management Open Super Bowl, 2,200 new listings came on the market. So that's excluded from that 21,000
so it's separate.
short-term rental number. So it's kind of mutually exclusive. But what I think a lot of people think, and I posted a reel about this and it went crazy. It got like 160,000 views on TikTok like instantly, and then it got like 150,000 on Instagram, which is very unusual for me. I do not get that many views on my reels.
Great numbers.
And so I know that this struck a nerve with people, and I think it struck a nerve with people based on their comments. They're pissed. Like they feel like because so many people own these short-term rentals that that's keeping them from buying their home. And the really sad thing is, guys, is it's easier to go buy a short-term rental than it is to go buy a house. Like to go buy a primary residence. Like it's so much easier to buy a short-term rental because you can use one of those DSCR loans.
Yeah, DSCR.
And you can, basically get approved based on the income of the property, not your own income. So
well, they'll even do DSCRs
sad.
up to 90% now too. If the rent's getting like 110 to 115, what the payment's going to be, which most of your Airbnbs, as long as they can prove that in that area, they only have to put 10% down, and that's it. There's basically no qual after that.
Right.
And the rates are pretty. They're like I think they're like in the sevens right now.
Well, I hate to burst their bubble on this. The theory that that's why they can't get a house because it's what 20,000 Airbnbs that are out there. If all of those went on the market, that's only three and a half months of inventory. It's not going to break the market. It's not going to lower the prices that much to where it and obviously that they're not all 20,000 are going to go on the market at the same time. So I think it's a nothing burger right there.
But you have to, for me, I guess what was really eye-opening was just seeing like the hundreds and hundreds of comments from people that are truly angry.
I feel like they're being
well, a lot of them are angry about the fees,
by the
right?
investor. The fees.
I read a lot of the comments from it because it was interesting, and a lot of them were saying like the cleaning fees are obnoxious, and then they also they have all these things you got to do before you move out of the Airbnb. You got to do the laundry. You got to
Do all the dishes,
put
plus
everything
play
away,
cleaning fee.
take all the trash
Yeah.
out, roll out the trash cans for them, and do all these different things. And they're saying, well, screw it, I'm just gonna go do a hotel, and then they have the taxes and the host fees, and so there's just a ton of different fees, and people are complaining about it. But obviously, people use Airbnbs, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, they're not all coming down the market right now because people aren't renting them. So there are people that can't afford them and pay the fees. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting times.
Well, over half of them were still leased out during that time here, right? I mean, so it still had a massive demand when you think about roughly 13,000 homes being rented out by people. And not only that, we all know that they massively premium priced them during that time too. So how many more would have been rented out if they would have just priced them accordingly? So like you said, there's a lot there. I think that what I know is people follow the money, and they're going to learn what works and what doesn't work, and success is going to leave clues. They'll figure it out so that they can continue to make money, and whether they shift to those short-term or mid-term, which were, again, in your markets where you're seasonal. So the story's still being told.
So I think that the consensus is we do not think that we're in an Airbnb bust.
No, I'm totally with Jay on it. It just makes more sense in so many scenarios to like, especially like if the four of us are going to go and stay in a hotel individually versus all staying in a house, more of an intimate setting. There's just, again, all kinds of use case scenarios that Airbnb makes sense.
It's cheaper. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
cheaper.
and like we took our kids to Huntington Beach years ago, and we had been doing Airbnbs, and we decided we're gonna stay in a hotel this
It was
one
a
time.
terrible experience.
No, finish it.
Oh
though.
my
I'm
gosh.
nervous.
Yeah, just staying in a hotel room and with two beds. It's just with two kids.
As
It's
boring.
crowded,
Rotating
and
the
it's like,
showers.
Yeah.
it's yep, complaining. I mean, our kids are spoiled.
Not only
anyways,
that,
but
I hate to say one of the things I hate about hotels now too is like when you park for me and my army of kids and carrying all the
They don't have-
crap I
they don't
gotta
have
carry,
school
like
bus parking there?
literally. Well, and not only that, I gotta walk like a freaking half a mile to my dang room with carrying all the crap. So there's all kinds of use case scenarios of why it makes more sense.
Well, it's been a great episode, guys. Hey, thanks for joining us today. And make sure you like, comment, and ring that bell if you're on YouTube so that you get notified when we have new episodes.